So here we are with Olivier Demers, or Olo, of Vent du Nord. Olo, thanks for joining.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So you're joining us from Montreal, right?
Exactly, in my basement,
Yeah,
after and before a practice.
that's right. We musicians are always practicing. Isn't that true?
Yes, it's part of the routine.
So the first thing I wanted to touch on is a lot of people in the bluegrass world have their ears open to music that uses the same kinds of instruments and has history and has some kind of roots. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit about the kind of music your band plays.
hmm You have to know, Le Vent du Nord, we play traditional Quebecois music, but we also play more modern compositions in the style. Quebecois music, for those who are not familiar with, it's a tradition we have here that it's a mixture between French singing mixed with Irish immigration, Scottish immigration
Huh.
in the 19th century. And of course, the repertoire developed through the time because we were separated from France for over 250 years. So there's more and more songs talking about the reality we had in here. The situations are the wood, the lumberjacks, the songs from the wood camps and stuff like this. So it's really a tradition that evolved through the years. And I think there's no tradition that is fixed in the time. It would be like looking at the museum. So for me, a tradition is something that's constantly in movement. That's why we are okay to bring new repertoire and new compositions, because we did our homework and we really played this tradition enough to put our input into this tradition. So Quebec music is really a blend between French singing, Irish, Scottish style, but the repertoire is totally different than Ireland and Scotland. It's really a repertoire that's represent the francophones in North America.
Really interesting. Aside from your band, Vent du Nord, if the listeners wanted to have a crash course and listen to a couple of different recordings to get a sense of the type of music and the breadth of music, what would you recommend they go listen to?
Of course, there's one band that is the band of the bands since the last 50 years. It's the band called La Bottine Souriante, the Smiling Boot. They really captured the attention of many generations in the 70s and then in the 90s with the addition of the brass section. They really were the first band to tour internationally. They open many doors to other bands like us. It's really a large spectrum of sonorities. And the good thing, I think, in Quebec is every band, every project has his own color, his own style. Of course, we respect the swings on the fiddle, on the accordion, certain kinds of instrumentation, but not necessarily. So it's really fiddles, accordion, which are the main instrumental instruments, guitar, piano, foot tapping, a lot of vocal, a lot of songs, call and response. It's very dynamic. So the way you arrange it, the way you color it in your chord progressions or in the way you dress the song, it's every band's responsibility.
Wow. So is there any relationship between Quebecois music and the French music that moves south into the Cajun music, or is they completely separate from each other?
But it's a good question because Cajun music really is the kind of the descendants of the French from Acadie in the east coast of Canada, who were deported all over the world. They were deported by the British all over in Australia, in Europe, wherever, and some came back to Acadie. Of course, over there, those songs were shared with Creoles, with Spanish speaking people, with German. So it became something very different already. And already from Acadie and from Quebec, it was two kind of a population that kind of grow separately.
Right.
Because for some 100 years, we were under the British domination, but there was no big links between the Acadian and the
I see.
Quebecers.
Okay.
So the traditions are already different in those two places, but there's some similarities. There's some songs, there's some melodies, there's some lyrics that are the same in the two locations.
Interesting.
But in the instrumental part, they are more Scottish influenced, and we were, let's say, more maybe Irish influenced, even if Scots were very important in our tradition too. But it's definitely more the Scottish style on the East Coast. So, but you were talking about the bluegrass and the way you were opening your ears to other music. What I think is interesting in these situations is all these music are from a certain kind of immigration.
Right.
And certain kind of blending with a local population where the Irish came and met and created another thing with the French up north in Quebec. It became Quebec tradition, where the Scottish met and joined the music in the East Coast. It became like Cape Breton style,
Right.
Acadie music. And when the Irish and other musicians went more south, it became bluegrass, Appalachian music, old time. And then, meeting with Black people, it became jazz or whatever. It's always good to remember that these kind of tradition evolved with a certain kind of a new arrival. And in Quebec, in the middle of 19th century, there was a lot of Irish immigration because of the family in Ireland. So the meeting was clear, and it created the big change in our instrumental music because of these people.
Interesting. I got to meet a prominent Cajun fiddle player, Mitch Reed, great guy, incredible player. And he was telling us how Cajun music, just for example, there was a profound change when oil was found in Southwest Louisiana and they started drilling. So all of a sudden electrification came in and radios came in, and these musicians suddenly heard blues and jazz type music, and their music changed as a result of that. So the impacts and the way music changes, that's the beauty of music. And I think it's what shows its incredible power. Music doesn't stop because a tradition has changed. The music changes and grows with the traditions, and that's what's wonderful. I want to ask you, with an accordion in the band, does that mean everybody plays in C all the time or in G all the time because you have to play in tune with the accordion?
But you see, in Cajun music, it's a lot in C and G. In Quebec, it will be more D.
But that's to the accordion.
Accordion are in D, A, E minor, B minor. So there's lots of fiddle tunes, accordion tunes that are in these kind of tonalities. Of course, fiddle will bring lots of G tunes, but I would say the main tonality will be D in Quebec.
Okay.
Yes.
And let me start by asking, what's your main instrument, Olo?
I play mainly a fiddle, a little bit of mandolin. I'm a mandolin owner that want to be good one day, but fiddle is my main instrument. Even if I compose all my fiddle tunes on a guitar, which is
Interesting.
I don't know why. Because on fiddle, I was trained as a violinist, let's say, more than as a fiddler. But on the guitar, I'm more autodidact. I don't read a note. I don't have a clue, theory or stuff on the guitar. So I'm more intuition. I do mistakes. I go wrong, and this gives me some ideas to compose. And I more have the temptation to take a guitar at home more often, like a little 5 minute, just to go fishing for something on a guitar, and to relax, to clear my head. Instead of practicing, I just play.
Right.
So that brings me, I think, some ideas, and then I transfer it to violin or mandolin. I'll do also foot tapping, which is our main percussion in Quebec.
Uh-huh. Interesting. So before we go further into that, violin versus fiddle. Go ahead and define that difference for me.
In fact, in French, maybe it's probably in English is about the same, but a violinist, a violinist is more like classically trained. That will play like class musical that you will read a chart, or in the classical, baroque, or more orchestral tradition. And instead of fiddler or violineur in French, violineur instead of violinist, it will be those people who learn by ear, who learn by oral tradition, who plays music to make people dance.
Right.
In our square dances, in our dance evenings. So it's really the fiddlers in Quebec will be more related to oral tradition in a way.
Interesting. Okay. That's a great definition. So let's turn the conversation a little bit more towards your band. Tell me about the band and how it came together and how long it's been together, all that stuff.
Le Vent Nord plays together as a unit for 23 years.
Wow.
There was a little bit of member changing through the years, but Nicolas and me were there since the beginning. In fact, we're playing together professionally for the last 30 years. Next year, it will be our 30th anniversary, let's say. It's a touring band. Really, we did probably over 2,400 shows.
Wow.
Since the beginning. It's a touring band, but it's also a very creative band. We just released our 13th album.
13th.
So, yeah, but it's the 10th studio album. And there was one live, one symphonic, and one that were like kind of for our 20th, taking out old songs with a string quartet and a classical pianist. But it was kind of a creation, but with all the repertoire of the band.
Wow.
But this album, Voisinage, which means neighborhood, neighbors, it's officially our 13th album.
Wow.
So it's really a touring and creative band. Everybody's full-time in this project. We have no time for much other things. So, yeah.
That's exciting. What holds a band together for 20? I know you have some personnel changes, but what holds a band as an entity and as a mission and a vision together for 23 years?
There's lots of things. I would say to find a good partners, to find a good combination of people to share kind of the same vision. Also, I think it needs to also have a balance between personal life and touring life.
Yeah.
And income versus time. Since the beginning for us, we don't go more than 2 weeks because every band member has kids.
Yeah.
Our partner, our wives and girlfriends. We want to be present. Of course, we love to play music on tour, but it's also important for us to make our partners and kids that they understand that it's also our work and we're serious about it. We work hard on the road, and when we're back, we're totally back, ready to be present with them. So you need to find also the good partners to share this type of attitude with. It's your job. So you have to put your energy into this project, and your family will understand that we're away about half of the year, but never more than 13, 14 days a month. So
that's very lucky. We talk to a lot of musicians, and especially I won't say new bands, but younger bands that are just getting into touring. I look at their tour schedules and I'm like, how on earth do you sustain that? They're gone for months and months at a time. And I don't know what demon or sadist organizes their schedule, because they're in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, then somewhere in Vermont and down in Virginia, and then in, Tennessee and then New York. This is one day, then the next. They're all over the place, and I've heard a lot of interesting stories about touring. And I think maybe in the beginning it's a rite of passage or something where people have to endure it. Oh, I don't know. I think you have a very sane approach. It sounds like it's much more sustainable, especially for the family.
If you want to keep your unit together, you have to have a certain way to organize your schedule. Most of the bands knew that exploded. It's because they were exhausted. They were not willing to hit the road again. And for young musicians, I always suggest to think about it, to see what is your limit, what is your goal, but think about not burning your project if you believe in it. Just go with a certain intelligence in terms of your touring schedule. We're lucky enough to have a very particular and very sustainable combination and vision in our day-to-day. So I'm very glad about that, because I think I would be miserable without this project.
Let's talk a little bit about the instrumentation, in case listeners aren't really that familiar with how Quebecois music might be instrumental. Let's start with the fiddle. First of all, do you do standard tuning, or is there anything different about the way you set up your fiddle?
On tour, we are always standard. I would say like 95% of the repertoire is on standard. We have a few other types of tunings in Quebec tradition. We have the grandeurs tuning, which will be the G string cranked up on the E note. So A, D, A, E. We'll have the vielle in droning, I would say. So it would be two lower notes cranked up one tone. So A, E, A, E.
Oh.
And we'll have that same kind of vibe, which everything down. So G, D, G, D, which is like the droning, but a step down. And we have the hangman, the pendu, which will be A, E, A, C sharp. You have that in old time also to play certain type of tunes. But it's really a minority of repertoire. But I would not play personally. It's not all the fiddlers. I would not play a tune that is played usually, traditionally, in grandeurs or in vielle. I would not play it on a standard tuning to respect the tone.
Right.
The fiddle reacts. Then we have accordion, which is the diatonic accordion. So when you pull and you push on the same button, that you will have two different notes, like in Cajun accordion, but the Cajun are tuned mainly in C, and in our tradition it's mainly in D. So now we have some accordions Régent plays on a 1 row and a half, because the 1 row is the main accordion that we use. But now there's some 1 row and few incidental notes. And we have some 3 rows accordion, G, F, and C, I think, which are with the D 1 row and the 3 rows would be the main accordions.
Interesting. Now, you said piano. You mentioned
piano. Piano, it will be also probably our main instrument since a long time to accompany. If you listen to archives from the 30s, or the piano is there already, Guitar happened really way after, I would say in the 60s. And in our guitar tuning, it will be a standard. So piano guitar really works well to accompany fiddle, accordion, generally speaking.
Does the guitar generally stick to rhythm, or is there like flat picking or any stuff like that for the guitar to do?
Mainly, it will be strumming on the guitar. Some bands will use flat picking, but it's mainly to accompany with chords. But saying every band, like I said earlier, every band put his own touch.
Right.
Some band will be more melodic. Some band will be more creative on the chord progressions. Some bands will be more G, D, a very standard. So I would say it's a bit more creative on the piano style when
Uh-huh.
it goes to campaign and dance. The options are floating a bit more. Guitar, it depends of the musician, of course. Then I would say the main percussion is the foot tapping, as I
Oh,
said earlier. It's percussion very convenient because you can play fiddle and do your foot tapping
right.
and be a foot tapper, accordion player, guitar player. It doesn't matter. But mainly the fiddle players are usually good foot tappers because back in the day, the foot tapper was alone to make people dance in the family, in the kitchen. It
Hmm.
was one fiddler and the dancers around the table to do some squares because the kitchen was the biggest room
Hmm.
in the house because we had up to 20 kids per family back then. So and they used to put the fiddler on the table and doing the feet on the table,
Interesting.
using the table as the resonance box. So it's kind of a unique tradition, the foot tapping. Then you have other types of instruments that pops up once in a while, like
Hmm.
hurdy-gurdy. In Le Vent du Nord, we have Nicolas playing the hurdy-gurdy, which is not a traditional instrument in Quebec. There was some trace in New France era of hurdy-gurdies in New France, but it's more a European instrument. Also, harmonica in our tradition, bouzouki, Irish bouzouki, that's since maybe 30, 40 years integrated our traditional instrumentation, but it's very modern in a way. Mandolin a little bit, yes. Also.
Even the mandolin. Wow. So that's really quite an array. Usually in bluegrass bands, we stick to the six instruments, and once in a while you hear others. But I think that's pretty cool that you get such a broad range. I wonder if you guys have anything special coming up in the new year that you're looking forward to.
Ben, of course, we have always our Quebec tour in December, and that culminate in a show that we organized for the last 28 years. Even
Oh,
before Le Vent du Nord, Nicolas and me, we started this show. It's always on 30th of December. If you never came in Montreal on 30th of December, it's the place to be. It's called La Veillée de l'Avant-Veille, the eve of the eve.
right.
So it's every 30th, no matter the day it is, it's always the 30th. And it's a big celebration in the tradition. So it's downtown Montreal, Saint Laurent, Sainte Catherine corner, really downtown. There's two bands playing two parts of music, followed by 3 hours of dance, called dance. So it starts at 8 and it finishes at 1:30 in the morning.
Fun.
It's not always 900 people. And some years we go in a bigger room for the 20th or the 25th and probably the 30th. We can be 2,000. It's jam packed with kids, old elders that go in the balcony to sit, but it's all stand up. The kids are loose inside. It's free for the kids under 12. So it's really a celebration of the New Year's with plenty of surprises. So it's a great tradition we have, and it's always the moment for us to say thank you to the fans, to say thank you to each other on stage. At midnight, we pop the champagne. The volunteers that are with us through the years and in some other festivals that we organize, they are there. We share 5 minutes. We stop the dance. We everybody sing Happy New Year one day before everybody else, and it's the time to say thank you, to say that we're lucky to be on this music scene. So it's a good moment to say thank you. And then we were on the road in Europe in all January, and
Ah,
then we'll be back in United States in February as well. So
fun. All right. So I want to thank you for a fascinating discussion, very wide ranging, and I can't wait to learn more and hear more about Quebecois music now.
yes, for every bluegrass lovers, just have a look of Quebec music. Is there's some kind of things that you will be able to understand? Okay, maybe it's a branch that diverse at one point in history, but you will find some similarities and some exotic things for sure.
Yes.
So thank you for having me, Mike, and hope to see you very soon.